The Galactic Assembly had issued warnings before. Usually they were ignored. But this one was different. It was not a simple decree about trade disputes, tax regulations, or border skirmishes. This one was clear, concise, and terrifying in its calmness. Do not attack human systems. Any aggression will result in total destruction. The notice went out to every known species, every empire, every fleet commander. Yet most laughed. Humans. They were weak, primitive, and small. They had no fleets capable of interstellar war, no advanced weapons beyond basic shields and light assault craft. In the history books, humans barely survived their own planet's conflicts without destroying themselves. Surely, this warning was a bluff. In the central star system of the Zarathi Dominion, the ruling council met in their glass towers orbiting a golden gas giant. Commander Thavok, a veteran of countless campaigns, stared at the holographic message with disbelief. They threaten total destruction, but what can they do? They barely escaped the last outbreak on Mars. This is nonsense. Counselor Rilara, younger and more cautious, frowned. Do you truly believe ignoring this message is wise? It is direct. They did not send diplomats. They did not negotiate, only warning. Thavok laughed, a sound like metal grinding. We have never been afraid of warnings. If humans are so weak, they will not even try to defend. The assembly exaggerates once more. And so, the Zarathi made their decision. They would attack, and it would be a simple victory. The target was a small convoy, nothing more than humanitarian vessels traveling through neutral space. The convoy carried medical supplies, emergency food, and civilian personnel. It was unarmed and unprepared for war. From the bridge of the Zarathi assault cruiser Vakar's Pride, Captain Lurek activated the attack protocol. His fleet moved in formation, weapons charging silently. They will surrender, Lurek said confidently to his crew. Humans never fight outside their home systems. They are weak. The convoy crew, far away in their slow transport vessels, were unaware of the incoming threat. Commander Alina Riker of the human convoy was checking inventory logs and communicating with stations along their route when the alarm lights flashed red. Multiple contacts detected, the AI said calmly. Hostile fleet approaching at high velocity, weapons charging. Alina frowned. How is this possible? This is neutral space. No species attacks here. Perhaps they did not receive the warning, her second-in-command, Lieutenant Marco Tyne, suggested. Or they ignored it, Alina said grimly. She activated the convoy's communications link. This is Commander Alina Riker of the humanitarian convoy Hope's Dawn. You are entering neutral space. Cease your advance immediately. Turn back. The reply was not hesitation, not a negotiation, just a message broadcast through the fleet channels. You are weak. Surrender your cargo and you may leave unharmed. Alina's hand tightened on the console. We do not surrender. We follow our orders, and we will not allow harm to the civilians. The first shots were fired. Energy beams streaked across the void, striking cargo vessels. Explosions erupted, and debris drifted silently against the stars. But humans did not panic. Their ships moved in precise formations, civilian craft protected behind shielded corvettes. The AI rerouted power from non-essential systems to shields and engines. Crew and civilians worked in calm coordination. Deploy countermeasures, Alina ordered. Do not engage them unless necessary. Our goal is survival and witness, nothing more. The Zarathi were surprised. Instead of fleeing, the humans held formation. They maneuvered with speed and precision the Zarathi did not expect from a so-called primitive species. This is not normal, Captain Lurek muttered. They are organized, highly organized. Weak species do not organize this well, one of his officers said nervously. The battle continued, and still, the humans did not fight to destroy. Their corvettes absorbed attacks, protected the convoy, and executed evasive maneuvers. It was almost as if they were daring the Zarathi to strike harder. Back in the Galactic Assembly, alien observers watched the communications feed with growing unease. This was not the weak, disorganized humanity they expected. Their commentators whispered warnings to one another, but no one dared to confront the pride of the Zarathi Dominion directly. On the bridge of Vakar's pride, Lurek made a fateful decision. Board the convoy, take it by force. We show them no mercy and they will bow. Shuttlecraft detached from the fleet, fast and armed. They approached the largest cargo vessel, Hope's Dawn, expecting minimal resistance. When they docked, however, they found the airlock sealed, the interior filled with automated security drones and AI-controlled defense turrets already active. Boarding parties were stunned. This is impossible, Lurek hissed, watching one drone disable 3 of his soldiers in seconds without killing them. Alina's voice came over the intercom, calm and firm. We asked you to turn back. You ignored the warning. Now you are in our space. Leave peacefully or face consequences. The Zarathi soldiers hesitated. None had ever faced humans who fought without anger, without hatred, and without panic. The calm precision was unsettling. Perhaps they were not bluffing, one muttered. But the fleet commander was proud and arrogant. We will not retreat, Lurek said. Send the reinforcements. Destroy the convoy if you must. And that is when the humans made their first move, not to attack, but to defend in a way no alien had ever seen. The convoy's AI activated hidden systems. Communication relays jammed the Zarathi fleet's navigation channels. Engines on some assault ships overloaded silently, forcing emergency shutdowns. Supply lines failed without any visible cause. It was surgical, invisible, and terrifying in its efficiency. Commander, sensors detect massive interference, a Zarathi officer reported, panic creeping into his voice. Impossible, Lurek said, though doubt had begun to gnaw at him. Alina watched the fleet's confusion through her sensors. We are not fighting to kill, she reminded her crew. We are protecting life and sending a message. Let them see why the warning exists. The message was clear. Humans were not helpless. They were not weak. They were prepared. Hours passed and the Zarathi forces began to retreat, not entirely destroyed but shaken to the core. For the first time, they realized the humans' warning had not been empty. Alina breathed a quiet sigh. The convoy was damaged but alive. Civilians were safe. And somewhere across the galaxy, the warning message had been received, not as a threat, but as a statement of intent. Meanwhile, on the Zarathi capital world, Commander Thavok stood before the council again. The humans, they are not what we believed, he admitted for the first time in his career. Perhaps the Assembly's warning was real. Councillor Rilara nodded silently. We may have underestimated them, and we may pay the price for it. In human space, Admiral Marcus Riker, Alina's uncle and fleet commander, watched the reports from the engagement. He spoke quietly, almost to himself. Send the final warning, then prepare. The message was simple and the tone calm. Unlike the Zarathi, humans never wasted energy in arrogance or fear. They acted deliberately. Somewhere in the depths of space, the first encrypted message, stamped final notice, traveled silently toward the Zarathi fleets. And the galaxy waited, unaware that the real story of humanity was only beginning. The Zarathi Dominion had retreated, but the damage was done. Fleet commanders whispered of the humans' mysterious power, their calm precision, and the strange technology that could disable entire ships without a fight. Even now, as their ships limped back to repair yards, the memory of a failed boarding lingered like a shadow. Yet for humans, the engagement was only a test. The convoy had survived. Civilians were safe. And across the stars, human command prepared its next move, not with anger, not with vengeance, but with a careful, unyielding strategy. Admiral Marcus Riker observed the reports from his fleet on the bridge of the USS Horizon, the flagship of the Human Defense Command. The display showed Zarathi ships scattered, some drifting powerless, others struggling to restore navigation. "They are regrouping," Lieutenant Marco Tyne said, pointing at a fleet fragment. "Yes," Marcus replied, "but they are still in our space. That was expected, let them. We are not attacking yet. We are guiding." "Guiding?" Tyne asked, confused. "Yes," Marcus said, eyes scanning the stars. "The warning is not about killing them. It is about showing them why the warning exists. They need to see the consequences of ignoring humanity's patience." Meanwhile, the Zarathi Dominion held emergency councils across their worlds. Commander Thavok paced the halls of his capital, a storm of disbelief and fear in his mind. "Their ships, they withdrew, but they did not flee," he said to the council. "Their fleet movements were deliberate, controlled, every step calculated." Councillor Rilara leaned forward. "They are not weak. We misjudged them. Every report we receive shows control, restraint, and focus. We are outmatched but not in firepower yet. It is their strategy, not their weapons, that terrifies us." "Do you think they will attack?" Thavok asked quietly, almost hoping it was not true. "No," Rilara said, shaking her head. "They are patient, but they are watching, and if we strike again, they will respond." And respond they would, but not like any alien race expected. In the void between human and Zarathi space, human ships moved like shadows. Civilians were kept behind shielded formations, while corvettes, destroyers, and stealth units maneuvered silently around enemy positions. The humans did not fire. They did not hurl missiles. They merely interfered with enemy systems. It began with communications. Zarathi fleets lost contact with each other, messages looping endlessly or failing mid-transmission. Their navigational charts glitched. Sensors showed phantom objects and empty space where their allies floated. Panic began to spread through the enemy ranks. Captain Lurek of the Vakar's Pride could not understand. How is this possible? They are not even using weapons. His first officer, pale under the lights, said, "It is interference. It is like they are everywhere and nowhere at once." "Impossible," Lurek said, but the word had lost its conviction. In human command, the calm remained. Admiral Riker observed the movements of every enemy ship, every fleet formation, every pattern of retreat and repair. "We are not fighting," he said to his officers. "We are shaping the battlefield. Let them come closer. Let them see. Let them choose the wrong path, and then they will understand." The humans had studied every species in the known galaxy for decades. They knew arrogance, pride, and impatience. They knew how to make enemies act without firing a single shot. "Commander Elena Riker," Marcus called over the communicator, "your convoy is safe. Continue holding formation. Begin preparations for the blockade phase. The Zarathi will test it. Let them." "Understood, Admiral," Elena replied, her calm voice steady. "All civilians accounted for, shields at maximum, weapons on standby but not armed. We follow your orders." The humans' plan was simple but terrifying. They would not attack, they would contain. Every Zarathi movement toward human space would be slowed, disrupted, and neutralized. No one would die unnecessarily. No civilian would suffer. But the Dominion would feel powerless. Days passed. Zarathi fleets advanced, hoping to regroup, hoping to strike, hoping to show human weakness. Each time they found themselves trapped in invisible snags. Supply convoys vanished. Hyperjumps failed. Engines overloaded. Entire fleets were immobilized without a single shot from humans. Alien observers from other empires watched with growing concern. This was unprecedented. Even the most technologically advanced species had never seen a force disable entire fleets without direct combat. "Do you realize what they are doing?" one observer whispered to another. "They are not fighting. They are controlling every step, every move. Entire fleets are stranded, and humans have done this without risking a single life." "The warning," the other said, eyes wide. It was real. The Zarathi realized too late that ignoring the warning had consequences beyond destruction. The humans did not need to attack to win. They simply needed to force surrender through strategic dominance. On the bridge of the Vakar's Pride, Lurek stared at the reports. His face was pale. They are guiding us, he said. Every failed jump, every lost ship, every disruption, they want us to retreat, but they are not attacking. Not yet. Then why are we trapped? One officer asked, fear creeping into his voice. Because we were warned, Lurek muttered, and we ignored it. The first contact crews began reporting strange anomalies. Ships powered down unexpectedly, shields fluctuated, weapons systems locked without reason. It was as if the humans were inside the machines, controlling them remotely without entering a single vessel. Lurek tried to maintain discipline, but chaos spread. His officers argued, panic mounting. Some suggested surrender, others urged escape, but every choice seemed blocked. They are not fighting, one muttered, and yet they are winning. Meanwhile, in human space, Admiral Riker watched the unfolding situation with satisfaction. No one celebrated, no one cheered. Humans did not need victory through spectacle. Victory through precision and restraint was far more powerful. Prepare the next phase, he instructed. The Zarathi have yet to learn the cost of ignoring the warning. We will give them the choice one last time before they understand why it exists. Alina's convoy continued its journey, still calm, still precise. Civilians were protected. The ships moved as one organism, coordinated flawlessly, responding to threats before they became dangerous. Every crew member knew the drill. Every sensor, every AI, every weapon system was ready, but none were used in anger. This is how humans fight, Alina said quietly to Lieutenant Tyne. We do not attack blindly. We do not rage. We act, we protect, we teach. And sometimes that is enough. In the Zarathi capital, Commander Thavok convened the council again. The room was filled with tension, fear, and disbelief. Our fleets, they cannot advance, Thavok admitted. Their interference is everywhere. Our ships are crippled. Supply lines cut. We cannot communicate. And yet no human ship has fired. Counselor Rilara nodded slowly. Perhaps we misunderstood the message. Perhaps the warning was not a threat. It was a statement, and we tested it. We cannot survive another test, Thavok said quietly. And yet we will try. We must try. The Zarathi Dominion, once proud and arrogant, now faced the reality of humanity. A species underestimated for centuries, now revealed to be methodical, patient, and utterly prepared. Somewhere across the galaxy, other species whispered the same thing. The warning, we must take it seriously. Humanity is not weak, they are inevitable. The humans did not celebrate, they did not boast, they did not revel in the fear of their enemies. They were patient, they waited. And they allowed the galaxy to see, in quiet clarity, the reason why the warning had been issued. Humans were a species that acted with precision, restraint, and intelligence. They did not need anger to destroy fleets. They did not need weapons to enforce their will. And they did not need war to teach the galaxy a lesson. The final phase of containment was approaching. The Zarathi would soon learn that ignoring humanity's warning was not merely foolish, it was dangerous beyond imagining. Admiral Riker leaned back in his chair, voice calm, steady, and firm. Let them see the consequences of ignoring humanity. Let them choose wrongly, one last time. In the dark void of space, the first human blockade ship slipped silently between the Zarathi fleets and the outer rim. No shots were fired. No destruction occurred. Yet, the Zarathi Dominion's arrogance had brought them to the edge of disaster. Every fleet they sent toward human space faltered before reaching its destination. Ships powered down mid-jump, navigation systems failed, and supply lines vanished as if erased by invisible hands. Every attempt to regroup ended in chaos, yet no human vessel had fired a single weapon. In the Galactic Assembly, whispers of disbelief turned into panic. Observers from every empire were monitoring the situation, recording every anomaly, every failed Zarathi maneuver. The consensus was unanimous. Humanity was not just dangerous, they were unpredictable. Commander Thavok of the Zarathi Dominion paced the council chamber on his capital station. His normally rigid posture had softened, tension etched into his face. "We are trapped," he admitted for the first time to his council. "Our fleets cannot advance, our communication is disrupted, supply lines are gone, and the humans they have not even attacked." Councillor Rilara nodded grimly. "We underestimated them. We thought the warning was empty. Now we see it is very real." "And if we refuse to surrender," Thavok asked, dread in his voice, "then we will be shown why the warning exists," Rilara replied. Across human space, Admiral Marcus Riker watched the Zarathi fleets on his holographic display. The human strategy had always been clear: contain, disrupt, and force a choice. But now, the Dominion had ignored every warning. Humans were ready to escalate. "Prepare the operation," Marcus said to his officers. "The warning has been ignored. The time for containment is ending. We will not destroy without reason, but we will demonstrate the cost of defiance." In the civilian convoy, Commander Alina Riker readied her fleet. The ships were damaged from previous encounters, but every crew member knew their role. Shields were reinforced, energy systems optimized, and AI-controlled drones deployed for reconnaissance and defense. "No human has died unnecessarily," Alina reminded her crew. "We do not fight to kill, we fight to protect and to teach. Today they will learn." The first targets were Zarathi command centers. Not cities, not civilians, just the military infrastructure that had orchestrated the raids. Using precise energy pulses and non-lethal disabling technology, humans rendered their enemies, weapons, engines, and communication systems useless. Ships drifted silently in space. Stations that once commanded fleets now lay powerless, unable to function. "This is impossible," Captain Lurek muttered aboard the Vakar's Pride. "They are crippling us without even firing." "They are everywhere," an officer whispered, "and nowhere at once." The Zarathi Dominion began to panic. Fleet commanders realized the humans were not only capable of defense, they were capable of total operational control. Every movement, every plan, every attempt at resistance was anticipated and neutralized. On one of the main command worlds, General Vorik faced his officers. "Our fleets are trapped," he said. "The humans are everywhere. They can reach our ships before we even jump, and they have not fired a shot. What do we do?" "We surrender," one officer said, voice shaking, "or we die." "We cannot surrender," Vorik replied. "Our honor." "Honor will not save us," the officer interrupted. "We have already lost." The humans gave them one final chance. Across the stars, a calm broadcast went out from the USS Horizon. "Zarathi Dominion, return your civilians. Withdraw from human systems. Comply with the warning. Any refusal will result in further neutralization of your military capabilities. We do not attack your species, only your ability to wage war." It was the human equivalent of a ruler speaking to a misguided child, not with anger, not with rage, but with authority. The Zarathi Council debated feverishly. Some wanted to surrender immediately, others wanted to fight. Pride and arrogance battled fear, yet the reality was undeniable. Every option they tried failed. "We cannot escape," Commander Thavok said quietly. "Every fleet, every command center, every weapon neutralized. We are powerless." Counselor Rilara nodded. "We tested humanity, we ignored their warning, and now we see why it exists." Human forces continued their methodical advance, disabling rather than destroying. Civilian populations were untouched. Infrastructure that could serve peace was preserved. Only the tools of war, the fleets, the stations, and the command structures were neutralized. In one fleet engagement, a Zarathi flagship attempted to fire on a human blockade. Within moments, its weapons systems froze, engines shut down, communication channels failed. The ship drifted helplessly in space. "Impossible," the commander shouted. "How do they do this?" "It does not matter," an officer replied. "We cannot fight back. Every move is predicted. Every system is controlled." The lesson was clear. Humanity did not need to destroy. Their restraint was more terrifying than any attack. Across the galaxy, other species watched in disbelief. The Eldari Council, one of the most technologically advanced races, convened emergency meetings. "They have no mercy, yet no aggression," an Eldari observer said. "They do not kill, but they can control entire fleets. How is this possible?" "They are not weak," another added. "They are patient, strategic, and prepared for everything. They do not rush, they wait. And when the time comes, the consequences are total." This understanding began to spread. The human warning was no bluff. It was a principle. The galaxy had always underestimated humanity. They had never expected patience, intelligence, and strategy to be their most powerful weapons. Back in human space, Admiral Riker monitored the situation calmly. "This is the final demonstration," he said. "We do not wish to kill. We only wish to show them the choice they made by ignoring our warning." Alina Riker, observing the disabled fleets and command stations, nodded. "The civilians are safe. Our crews are safe. And yet they understand. The lesson is clear." The Zarathi attempted one last desperate maneuver, an attempt to escape through a hyperspace corridor toward Allied space. The humans anticipated it. Using a combination of AI-guided interference and precise fleet positioning, the corridor was blocked. Fleets trapped. Command structures isolated, escape impossible. "We cannot surrender," Thavok said, voice trembling. "And yet we cannot fight. What choice do we have?" "The only choice is compliance," Rilara said softly, "or total loss." The Zarathi Dominion finally sent a surrender signal, not out of respect but out of necessity. They had seen the cost of defiance. They had understood the warning, and they knew humanity would follow through if pushed further. Humans accepted the surrender. No civilians were harmed. No destruction beyond military infrastructure occurred. The message, however, was clear. Ignore humanity at your peril. Do not test their patience. The warning exists for a reason. The aftermath was profound. Across the galaxy, other species updated their intelligence reports. Humans were no longer weak or primitive. They were methodical, prepared, and capable of consequences that rivaled destruction itself. Admiral Riker addressed his officers calmly. "We have not destroyed. We have not killed unnecessarily. We have only shown them the result of ignoring the warning. Humanity does not seek war. Humanity seeks survival, but humanity is prepared." Alina Riker, watching the retreating Zarathi fleets, added quietly, "Let this be remembered. The warning exists not because we are cruel, but because we are patient, and patience has its limits." The galaxy now knew why humans were dangerous, not because they sought conquest, not because they hated other species, but because they were capable of total control, complete preparation, and measured consequences. The Zarathi had tested humanity. They had failed, and the lesson would echo through the stars for generations. Total destruction is always a choice, but humanity rarely gives empty threats. The Zarathi Dominion had surrendered. Their fleets drifted in silent space, engines disabled, weapons offline. Command centers were neutralized, yet no civilians were harmed. The lesson had been delivered without unnecessary destruction, but its impact was profound. Across the galaxy, the story of humanity spread quickly. In human space, Admiral Marcus Riker oversaw the final stages of operations. He did not rejoice. There were no celebrations. For humans, victory was not about destruction or pride. It was about demonstrating restraint and preparedness. "All disabled fleets accounted for," reported Lieutenant Marco Tyne. "No civilian casualties, no human losses. The Zarathi have confirmed compliance." "Good," Marcus said quietly. "Now, ensure they remain contained while we implement the final peace measures." Commander Alina Riker guided her convoy through the now quiet sector. The civilians were safe, their supplies intact, and the ships operational. Even after all the chaos, there was no panic, no fear, only calm efficiency. Humans were meticulous in their operations. Every vessel, every crew member, every calculation had been made to ensure maximum safety and minimal harm. "Admiral," Elena said over the comms, "all sectors are stable. The Zarathi fleets have stopped all offensive operations." "Excellent," Marcus replied. "Prepare the transfer protocols for their civilian populations. Ensure they are moved to secure zones under neutral supervision." This is not punishment, it is protection. For the first time in centuries, a galaxy had witnessed the true measure of humanity. The species they had dismissed as primitive and weak had proven something far more dangerous than raw firepower. They were disciplined, strategic, and utterly precise. On the Zarathi capital, Commander Thavok met with Counselor Rilara. Both were silent for a moment, digesting the magnitude of their defeat. Their empire was intact physically, but its pride had been shattered. The lesson was clear: humans were not to be trifled with. "We tested them," Thavok admitted, voice low. "We ignored the warning. And now we see we cannot fight them without consequences." "They do not attack unnecessarily," Rilara said. "Yet every move we made was anticipated, every fleet disabled, every command center neutralized. They did not destroy our civilians. They did not slaughter our people. And still we were helpless." "Their patience," Thavok said, shaking his head. "It is terrifying and precise. Every warning, every communication, it was real." "We will remember this," Rilara said. "Every species will remember." Meanwhile, in the Galactic Assembly, debates were underway. Observers from dozens of civilizations recorded every detail. The Eldari Council, the Vakari Senate, the Rilthian Command, all agreed on the same conclusion. Humanity was a species to be respected, feared, and treated with caution. "They are not violent by nature," one delegate said. "They do not seek war or conquest. And yet their control is absolute. They can disable entire fleets, prevent battles, and enforce compliance without firing a shot. This is unprecedented." "The warning was not a threat," another replied. "It was mercy. They gave us a choice. The Zarathi ignored it." Across the galaxy, that lesson would not be forgotten. Humanity's patience was a weapon more powerful than any fleet, more terrifying than any superweapon, and the galaxy knew it. In human space, Admiral Riker addressed his officers. "Operation complete," he said calmly. "We have not killed unnecessarily. We have not destroyed civilian life. Yet the Zarathi understand the warning. Humanity does not issue threats lightly. When the time comes, consequences will follow, but only when provoked." Elena Riker, observing the neutralized fleets, nodded. "They will remember this, and they will tell others. The warning exists not because we wish to destroy, but because we cannot ignore defiance." The humans' actions were deliberate. Every measure had been calculated to demonstrate both restraint and capability. They did not seek vengeance. They did not take pride in destruction, but they were prepared to act decisively if their patience was tested again. In the neutral sectors, displaced Zarathi civilians were placed under human protection. Hospitals, supply stations, and transit systems ensured their safety. Every effort was made to demonstrate that humans did not harm innocents. The message was clear. Humanity did not punish the innocent, only those who defied reason. "We do not destroy unnecessarily," Admiral Riker explained to his officers, "but we enforce the rules. Our patience has limits. Our warnings are real, and when tested, humanity acts decisively." In a quiet moment, Elena reflected on the events. The convoy had survived, civilians were safe, and the Dominion had surrendered. Yet the galaxy had seen the real lesson. Humans were not weak, humans were not primitive, and humans were not to be underestimated. "They will not forget this," she said softly to Tyne. "Not the Zarathi, not the other species. They now know why the warning exists." Across the stars, reports flooded the assembly. Every empire updated their intelligence on humanity. Data, records, and historical archives were revised. Humans were no longer considered a minor species. They were a force to be respected. In the outer reaches of human space, Admiral Riker received a communication from the Galactic Assembly. Humanity, your actions have been observed. The galaxy understands the purpose of your warning. We recognize your strength, your patience, and your restraint. Marcus replied calmly, "We seek peace. We do not seek conquest, but humanity will act when provoked. Let this be understood." It was the end of the conflict, but also the beginning of a new era. The Zarathi had surrendered. Other species had witnessed humanity's restraint. And the warning, once dismissed, was now a principle of survival for the galaxy. In the quiet of the USS Horizon, Marcus Riker looked at the stars. He spoke softly, almost to himself. The warning exists not because we are cruel, but because we are prepared. Because patience has limits. Because the galaxy must learn that humanity is not to be underestimated. Elena Riker joined him, her eyes reflecting the distant stars. "They tested us," she said. "They thought we were weak, but we do not fight for glory, we fight for survival, and sometimes that is the strongest weapon of all." Across the galaxy, the lesson echoed. The Zarathi, the Assembly, and every species learned. Ignore humanity and consequences follow. Do not attack civilians and you survive. Disregard warnings and you face strategic neutralization. Humanity had shown that restraint, intelligence, and preparedness were as powerful as any weapon. And in the quiet of space, the galaxy understood why. The warning exists because humanity acts when necessary. And when provoked, humanity will enforce it with precision. The Zarathi Dominion would rebuild, but its pride would never recover. Other species would continue to trade, explore, and expand, but all would remember the warning. Humanity had taught a lesson without killing unnecessarily. A lesson that would echo across the stars for centuries. And somewhere in human command, Admiral Marcus Riker sent the final communication to the galaxy. Humanity does not seek war. Humanity does not seek conquest. Humanity seeks survival, protection, and reason. Ignore this warning at your own risk. The galaxy listened. And for the first time, every species understood the true meaning of the warning.